Haruka's your classic introverted bookworm who just wanted to be left alone with his fantasy novels until one day appears a magic circle in the classroom. While his classmates got flashy cheat skills and a VIP Isekai pass, Haruka missed the boat and got stuck with the leftover, bottom-tier abilities. Now stranded solo in the middle of a sketchy forest, he's basically living the hardcore, no-hand-holding version of a fantasy adventure. No party, no OP skills, just Haruka, his crappy powers, and pure survival mode. Welcome to Loner Life, Isekai Edition. Haruka, our eternally lonely, socially invisible, mega virgin protagonist, was just trying to vibe through another miserable school day when the universe said, let's spice things up. One moment, he's slumped at his desk questioning his existence, and the next, boom, a glowing, golden magic circle starts pulsing in the middle of the classroom. While the rest of the students start freaking out like they're extras in a fantasy anime, Haruka immediately clocks what's happening. He's read enough manga to know this isn't isekai summoning, but unlike the others, he's not hyped. He's annoyed. Dude just wanted to survive the day, not get teleported into a fantasy death trap. He tries to escape, even pulling a full Tom Cruise mission to crawl through the air ducts like a spy. But nope, fate's got him on lock. The circle expands and sucks everyone in like a supernatural Roomba. When he wakes up, he's alone in a blank, blinding void, expecting a grand welcome from some crusty old king or a hot elf princess. Instead, an elderly man with boomer energy appears, communicating only in weird hand signals and head tilts. Somehow, Haruka deciphers that all his classmates were summoned first and got to pick OP powers from a list of 50. Now, only 7 busted leftovers remain. The old man says, pick a skill, and Haruka is like, bro, even your mom has better options than these. Angry, he shakes the geezer like a maraca and demands better choices, but the old man snaps back, basically saying, you're unlucky and useless anyway. Then, just for chaos, he gives Haruka all the trash tier skills and kicks him into the fantasy world. He lands in the middle of a huge forest, immediately paranoid that some monster, or worse, his classmates, are lurking nearby. He finds a pouch on the ground and discovers it's a bottomless bag, which is actually kinda dope. Inside, though, it's just beginner gear straight from the dollar store. Still, a win's a win. Then a screen pops up asking him to roll for stats. 2 dice appear. He rolls, double M. No clue what it means, but he cautiously dumps everything into the luck stat. Plot twist, M = max. Haruka's now the luckiest guy in the world. Plus, thanks to his tragic backstory as an untouched, unloved virgin, he gets a special pity skill that lets him tame wild animals. Who says being lonely doesn't pay off? He starts gathering herbs, scanning items with his contact lens skill, which sounds lame but is actually OP, and building a makeshift home inspired by YouTube survival videos. Using temperature magic, he starts a fire and sets up camp in a nearby cave. It's not glamorous, but compared to his real-life apartment of sadness and instant ramen, it's basically a 5-star resort. He chills out for the night, levels up a few skills without trying, and wakes up the next morning ready to conquer the world, or at least survive breakfast. Breakfast, though. Mushrooms. Again, he sighs, dreams of meat, and prays to protein powder Jesus before heading out. That's when he runs into trouble. A group of dumb goblins singing TikTok songs in the forest. He hides, but once they start chanting Skibidi Toilet, something inside him snaps. He charges in with his wooden stick like a madman, bonks one goblin on the head, and smashes the other with a magic blast. He returns to his cave feeling like a budget anime protagonist. Days pass. Haruka levels up. He builds furniture, strengthens his cave with a wooden gate, and starts actually enjoying life. But then, drama returns. While out hunting a rabbit for dinner, he sees a group approaching. It's the school delinquents. Instant red alert. He hides like a pro, but then spots more familiar faces. Andrew Tate fanboys on one side, and the smelly nerd squad closing in from the other. Worst crossover ever. And just when he thinks he's out of the woods, literally, the class president appears with her group of vegan girls. Haruka freezes. She's kind, smart, and the only person who ever sorta acknowledged his existence. For a moment, he considers stepping out, maybe saying hi, but nah, he shakes it off. This is his world now. No cliques, no judgment, no high school nonsense. Haruka had barely ducked into the bushes when one of the delinquents caught a noise and started heading toward him. Cue panic mode. Haruka held his breath, praying the guy wouldn't come any closer. Just as things were about to go full horror movie, a rabbit, MVP of the moment, bolted from the underbrush and scared the bully off. Crisis averted. The group chalked it up to a dumb animal, and Haruka stayed hidden, low-key eavesdropping like a ninja. Unfortunately, they weren't discussing anything deep, just the leader ranting about the vice class rep's melons, followed by everyone else listing their favorite assets, real intellectuals. It reminded Haruka how girls like them always ended up having to deal with creeps like these. Then one of the bullies annoyed Tanaka, some quiet kid they were clearly using like a living encyclopedia. The leader even joked that the vice rep was waiting for him. Gross! Eventually, they left, and Haruka assumed the rest of the class must be somewhere upstream. But honestly, he didn't care. He liked being alone. His real problem, he'd only eaten mushrooms so far, not exactly fine dining. At least his loner skill had leveled up from avoiding everyone like a pro. Still, he was only level 3, probably because he hadn't bothered figuring out his two weirdest skills, Master of None and Ventriloquism. He figured Master of None meant he couldn't specialize in anything but could do a bit of everything poorly. He half thought it meant he'd become someone else's puppet. Yikes. Deciding not to fry his brain over it, he munched on more mushrooms and called it a night. Then, on the 6th morning, he was jolted awake by the sound of clanging metal and dudes yelling like they were in a fantasy war. Assuming it was the delinquents again, Haruka peeked out, and nope. It was the nerd squad going full anime battle mode against goblins. Haruka sat back like a sports commentator, debating whether to help. They were struggling, but not completely useless. A quick scan with his evaluation skill showed they were all level 16. A sorcerer, a guardian, a shinobi, and someone called Sync. Weird, but they weren't pushovers. He was reminded how his class was full of prodigies. And he still didn't get why he was tossed into the same group as the combat otakus. Just as he was about to bounce, he sensed 2 goblins sneaking up on them. Remembering how kind the nerds had always been, Haruka stepped in and took them out like a boss. The nerds thanked him and asked him to walk with them. Haruka didn't know how to respond to actual appreciation, but he took them to his cave, where they were blown away by the cozy setup. Over some awkward mushroom soup, he asked what happened to the rest of the class. The sorcerer took the lead. When they first got isekai'd, people panicked. Some cried, some pinched themselves, and the nerds, of course, immediately understood the genre. Naturally, the bullies demanded answers, and things got tense. When goblins attacked, the nerds held the line with their OP abilities, while everyone else panicked. The class rep helped organize the chaos afterward, and they built a camp near a river. Everything was running smoothly until the popular girls refused to do chores. Firewood? Their diva attitude spread like a virus, and soon, only the reps and nerds were keeping things functional. When goblins attacked again, the nerds had to fight solo while being sleep-deprived and overworked. Worse, they found out the bullies were stealing OP skills from weaker classmates, like charm. Then came the real drama. The nerds overheard the bullies plotting to start a harem. Gross, again. They told the class rep, who decided to take a stand. But with the bullies now equipped with shady control skills, it wasn't easy. Somehow, the nerds still managed to beat them and even sealed their sketchy abilities with magic. The bullies ran off swearing revenge, and the camp turned into a flaming mess. The popular girls blamed the nerds, and the sheep-brained classmates followed along. Despite the class rep's defense, the nerds were kicked out like villains in a group project gone wrong. Haruka, moved by the whole tale, actually cried. Then he hugged his new friends and even offered to host a mushroom party. Wild. He spent the night with them, enjoying their company for the first time in forever. But in the morning, when they invited him to become adventurers with them, Haruka declined with mysterious main character energy. He watched them go, convinced he'd only slow them down, then decided to find the class rep himself to sort out what really happened. On his way, a wild wolf attacked and bit him, but Haruka clapped it with a stick and kept going. Total legend. By nightfall, he reached the burnt-out camp and used his tracking skill to follow human footprints across the river. That's when he spotted the popular girls. His first thought should have stayed home roasting mushrooms. But then, surprise, they spotted him and actually approached him. One of them even said, "Please stop." Like, politely? The lead girl explained they were looking for the nerds to apologize. Yes, apologize. Haruka couldn't believe it. These girls who never owned up to anything back in the real world suddenly wanted to make things right. He told them straight up they'd never catch up to the nerds. But they insisted, so he hit them with some cold, hard truths. Could they survive in this forest? That's the end of the recap. Let us know if you want part 2 by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to avoid being virgin forever. See you guys in the next video.